Well, good afternoon. My name is Mike Ayars, and I'm going to talk about a trip that I made to Israel and Palestine in August with a group called the Christian Peacemaker Team. Our purpose when we went, our purpose and also the group and also my own reason for going was to really experience what daily life for Palestinians is like. We stayed mostly there. We also met with Palestinian and Israeli peace activists. And I really wanted to get a better understanding of what's really going on there. So just out of curiosity, how many people have been to Israel or West Bank? All right, good. You can be my experts. So part of what I'm trying to understand what was really happening between Israel and the Palestinians is the whole news media cycle, especially here. Israel controls really the narrative of what we hear. So what we hear is Israel is a good guy, the Palestinians are terrorists. I think we've kind of all seen that. Maybe we're starting to see a little bit more of the other side now. So we were an international delegation. 7 of us from Philadelphia area. We had 2 people join us from England, 1 from Canada, Texas, Salt Lake City. Our delegation leader was Amy Yoder McLaughlin. Amy grew up in Quinton, and her mom is my first cousin. So it was 2 Quakers, 9 Mennonites, and a Jew. That's an international ecumenical delegation. But we all brought different perspectives, which was nice. So where we went, we left here on the 13th of August, went to Tel Aviv through Paris. We spent some time in East Jerusalem at a hostel. We went to Bethlehem, stayed in the hostel there. We went to Hebron, which is the largest city on the West Bank. And we stayed with the Christian Peacemaker Team that's there. We spent the night in a Bedouin village called El-Khair. Came back to East Jerusalem, get a shower, and leave and come home. So we met with a group of people. We met with various people. Sabeel is an international peace movement that was initiated by Palestinian Christians, and it's they're again all working for peace under the existing United Nations resolutions. The Military Court Watch really works with Palestinian youth who were arrested for various things, various reasons. Negev Coexistence Forum, the Negev Desert is an area of contention. We met with American Friends Service Committee in Palestine, listen, hear what they were doing. We've met with some groups that are working on conflict resolution between Palestinian families, which can happen. And we went to a refugee camp and visited a community center there. We worked also with the Hebron International Resource Network, which is a very small group allied with the Scandinavians, and the leader of that in Hebron works for the United Nations. So we spent quite a bit of time with him. We went to Lifta, which is a Palestinian village that was abandoned in 1948 and still is abandoned today. We went to the Holocaust Museum in West Jerusalem. The Ibrahimi Mosque, the Tomb of the Patriots, a World Heritage Site that's in Hebron. We did mosque patrol, which I'll talk about a little bit. We did school patrol. And again, spent some time in the Negev Desert and went to 2 communities that are under demolition orders. So to understand, I think, a little bit of background, there's a couple of dates to keep in mind. 1948 was the founding of Israel. 1967 was the Six-Day War. Jerusalem, East and West. West Jerusalem is Israel's capital, as we've heard very recently. East Jerusalem is a kind of a separate entity, and that's pretty much under Palestinian and Israeli control. We saw the separation wall, and it's all over. And there are settlements everywhere. So we look at some of the borders that happened. Before 1945, this was Palestine. The little white areas are Jewish land, but Jews and Palestinians lived side by side throughout the West Bank. They were raised together. They went to school, different schools, but they were. It was just a typical community that's made up of different religions. In 1947, the UN proposed this kind of division, that Israel would be this, and how it actually happened. This is what became Israel. So you can see that the area reserved for the Palestinians, and this, by the way, when this was divided, this area, the West Bank, was under the control of Jordan. So it's remained under the control of Jordan until the Six-Day War in 1967, when Israel took it from Jordan. The reason it's called the West Bank, it sits on the west bank of the Jordan River. Now, it's obviously not west of Israel, it's west of the Jordan River. And then today, you can see that this whole area has been very much riddled with settlements and that kind of area. So, you look at that and you think, how's a two-state solution going to work here? It's not any contiguous land anymore. So that's one thing that was really eye-opening. We look at the separation wall. This is essentially the West Bank. Everything in white here exists, and more of this exists now down through here. And I have some detail around East Jerusalem that shows where that separation wall is. And it comes down to here through Hebron, and then it stops. It was not built around there. They were also going to build a separation wall on the Jordan side, and they have not done that. So in this image, again, a lot of this is East Jerusalem here. Old City is where we stayed. All this in red is a separation wall. And you can see it zigs and zags in order to capture settlements that were built. They moved it around in order to get a settlement into the separation wall. It also had the effect in some areas of isolating Palestinian villages and isolating Palestinians from their olive groves. So they need special permission to pass through the wall to harvest their olives, which some years they get and some years they don't. So you can see that the separation wall is a big deal. It's everywhere, and you've heard that we want to build a wall with Mexico. Well, this is called, and the Palestinians call it the apartheid wall, because it separates people based on their religion. So, do a little bit of looking at Old City in East Jerusalem. Old City is a walled city that encompasses that little part of East Jerusalem. So we've got up here, we've got the Damascus Gate. The Damascus Gate is the entrance that we used all the time. We stayed, our hostel was in here. You can see that there's a Christian quarter, there's an Armenian quarter, there's a Muslim quarter, and there's a Jewish quarter, all within the Old City. This is the Dome of the Rock, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the big point of contention. This is the Via Doloroso, which is the Stations of the Cross, leads down to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This is, we stayed here. I probably visited the Church of the Holy Sepulchre 6 times, hoping there wasn't going to be this big long line to see parts of it, but there always were. The Western Wall here, again, very easy to get to. You have to go through a checkpoint, but it's fairly simple. You just throw your backpack on the belt, take everything out of your pocket, walk through, pick it all up, and there you go. But anytime you go into the Jewish quarter, you go through a checkpoint. And of course, Muslims don't go through there because they're not allowed. So this is the Damascus Gate. This was our main entrance. You can see the size of the wall around the old city. But this is where we went in and out. This area here is a police station. There are always a number of soldiers there with their M16s, and just they pretty much hang out there until Friday when they get really busy. Friday being the Muslim holy day. This is walking in through the Damascus Gate. That is the Damascus Gate. That's the actual gate. I don't know that it's ever closed. And walking through here, it's an old city market. And I thought, gee, this looks like the Khan Khalili in Cairo. It's very much the same. Our hostel, we walked down through this area, and that was where our hostel was. We had to walk through a men's store to get to the hostel, but he was used to it, so not a big deal. People bring their vegetables in from wherever they're growing them. They sell them here. We found a very nice place to eat in the old city. You can see a lot of textiles and fabrics being sold here, but this was also a really nice little place, again, in the old city market. The iconic picture of the Western Wall. It is what it is. It's the wall of the. It's the Western Wall of the Second Jewish Temple, and it's part of a very small segment that's been built forever and ever. And its wholly due its connection to the Temple Mount, which we'll talk about in a minute. So what's the Dome of the Rock? We asked, what's the rock all about? Anybody know what the rock is all about? What's holy to Christians and Jews is the rock upon which Abraham was told to sacrifice his son Isaac, and at the last minute God said, no, sacrifice a sheep instead, and that was done on the rock in the Dome of the Rock. However, it's also the rock that Muhammad stood on to ascend to heaven. Same rock. So you can see that it is a site that's holy to two religions. And it's such a contention that Jordan administers it as a disinterested third party. But it is a place that's holy to two Abrahamic religions. So this is a typical meeting with somebody. We were on our way to Lifta, and we're getting a good description of what Lifta was all about. This is Amy McLaughlin, who is our leader, and the rest of us all paying close attention. It was interesting. This is the hill that we walked down to get to Lifta, which is down here. It's quite a hill. The going down is the easy part. And going up, it was, we'd stop and drink water and, make sure everybody was coming along okay and nobody's getting left behind. And we got all the way up to the top of the hill, and we thought, oh, this is something else. So every time we went somewhere and there was any kind of a hill involved, we would ask Amy, is this a Lifta hill or a half a Lifta? So we just judged all the hills based on Lifta. So we did go up a 2 Lifta hill, or actually we went down a 2 Lifta hill. That was holding on to each other so that we wouldn't slip and fall all the way down. So that was our rule of thumb. That was a Lifta hill. We spent some time in Bethlehem. This is one of my favorite pictures. This is the door. This is the entrance to the Church of the Nativity. It is a manger door, and that's how you get in. Now inside there's this huge cathedral with lots of lamps and things hanging around and all that sort of thing. It was under construction, under reconstruction at the time, so we basically decided that was the best picture of the inside of that church. Anybody know who Banksy is? Banksy is a well-known international graffiti artist. Graffiti as art as opposed to graffiti as tagging railroad cars, for example. This is called the Waldorf Hotel. And yes, it's a play on the Waldorf. But this is built, this is the separation wall. It's built right next to it. Every room has a view of the separation wall. So it's the Waldorf Hotel, and you can see some of his graffiti. And again, you get a size of this, an idea of the scale of it. You know, this is a really big wall. And again, covered with various graffiti, and this is just a small sample of what was there. Some left by internationals, so it's in English and Hebrew, some in Arabic, but this is a wall of peace. And of course, down the road a little bit is this. It has since been, you know, after we decided to move our embassy, it has been defaced with, you know, various things. But that was pretty. We thought that was pretty funny. The other thing was interesting. Banksy Hotel has a little museum or display, and what really got me was water is a huge issue in the West Bank, but not for settlers. It's only a huge issue for Palestinians. So these are water pipes. This is Palestinians' water pipe. It leaks a lot. It's old, and that's how Palestinians get their water. This goes to the settlements. So while Palestinians are scrounging for water, the settlements are putting in swimming pools because they've got all the water they need. That was really eye-opening to me. Another thing that we saw all over the place, this is in a restaurant in Bethlehem. What's the deal with a lock hanging on the door? Well, it symbolizes the Palestinians' right of return to their homes that were taken from them in 1948. It is a big issue for Palestinians, and obviously a big issue for Israelis. So it's one of the things that's going to have to be worked out at some point. But everywhere we went, we saw keys. You'll see a couple other pictures in here. Let's pause a little bit and talk about how the West Bank is divided up into areas. Area A is administered by the Palestinian Authority. Fine, Palestinian Authority, Ramallah, they administer it. Area B is administered jointly by the Palestinian Authority and Israel, which means it's really administered by Israel, because they don't have much truck with the Palestinian Authority. Area C is everything that's not Area A and B. It contains settlements. It's got 300,000 Palestinians in it. So Israel considers it to be state land. Anything that's not Area A and B is state land, quote unquote, and they can use it for anything they want. In Hebron, they have a couple of different areas. Again, one administered by the Palestinian Authority, one administered by Israel, and the settlers have their own group that oversees them. So as Israelis drive into Area A under the Palestinian Authority, they're greeted with this sign. This road leads to Area A under the Palestinian Authority. The entrance for Israeli citizens is forbidden, dangerous to your lives, and is against the Israeli law. It doesn't slow many Israelis down from doing it, but you see these red signs everywhere, and they're huge. It's hard to miss them. So let's look a little bit about, in Palestine, Palestinians live under military occupation. What does that mean? They're subject to military law, not civilian law. They are subject to checkpoints anywhere they go. So, for example, we went from Jerusalem, East Jerusalem to Bethlehem, which was fine, but on the way back, and we're on a public bus, on the way back, we stopped at a checkpoint and all the Palestinians had to get off. So we just said, well, we're in solidarity with the Palestinians, so we got off. And they looked, why are you doing this? So they looked at all the Palestinian papers and loaded them back on the bus one by one after they searched the bus. And then they got up to us and we're handing them our passport and our visa, and they're like, get on the bus. No, you're going to look at that. Okay, that's fine. You have to stop everybody. You're going to look at us. But it's, we went to dinner one night. We came out. We had to go through 5 little flying checkpoints in order to get back to where we were going. They let us through. They weren't letting Palestinians through. And this is an old city. You saw how congested it is under there. They had stopped. You can't go that way. We have to go some other way. Why? Good question. Another thing that we saw a lot of was demolitions. Houses that are considered to be built without a permit or something like that. This is in Ramallah. This is the remains of an apartment building. It looked like that. And now it looks like that. Why? Well, there's a settlement there now, and this is too close to a settlement. It's too dangerous for the settlers, so they have to tear that down. Or they made somebody made a modification to a room. And because it was not permitted, no permit for it, the entire building is knocked down. So all the families that lived there are now homeless. So our Quaker from Canada, our Quaker in Canada, decided that she would salute the settlements and thank them for what they had done. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist that. So here we have West Jerusalem, Israel's capital. We have East Jerusalem. Again, there's the little line that delineates the two of them. Old City, which we just looked at. But all the rest of this is East Jerusalem. Of course, there's the separation wall that was built to isolate Palestinians. So these areas are all built up Palestinian areas. These are all Israel areas, Israel built up areas. Everywhere you're going through checkpoints. Palestinians cannot go through that wall. They can't go through any gates at the wall or anything like that. So that's kind of what we looked at. Now Bethlehem, again, we traveled down to Bethlehem. We visited the Ada refugee camp, which is just outside of Bethlehem. This is the camp, the key, obviously the key. And there's a separation wall here. But this is the United Nations refugee camp that was established probably in the early 50s. And it's no bigger than it was, but there's an awful lot more people living there. Again, the key of return since 1948, handmade in Palestine. This is the separation wall in the refugee camp. This is the guard tower, obviously. And there it's manned. And what I like to do is I'd like to show you a little video. I may have to give you read the captions because you may or may not be able to see them.
تعلمنا بالمدرسة عن حقوق الطفل كثير، بس كثير من هاي الحقوق ما بتطبق. من أهمها الحق في الحماية والأمان. في مادة 42 للطفل الحق في الحماية من أشكال العنف أو الإساءة البدنية أو المعنوية أو الجنسية أو الإهمال أو التقصير أو التشرد أو غير ذلك من أشكال إساءة المعاملة أو الاستغلال. مخيم عايدة موجود في مدينة بيت لحم. وكالة الغوث أسست المخيم في سنة 1950. الناس الساكنة بالمخيم أجوا من 27 قرية، واليوم بسكن المخيم حوالي 5500 مواطن. بحيط المخيم جدار الفصل العنصري وتقريبا أكثر من 6 أبراج حوالين المخيم. كثير أحيانا بصحى على صوت الرصاص في المخيم، بس دايما أنا لما أصحى من النوم بروح دايما أول إشي على الفيسبوك على صفحة الأخبار في المخيم، لأنه بكون خايف ماخدين حدا من عيلتي أو أي حدا يعني بعرف.
اطفي الصورة.
I'm doing my work.
من فضلك اطفي الصورة.
I'm doing my work.
اسمع ها.
Okay.
اسمع. كان.
Yeah, I'll be here.
كان بفريم.
Okay, I'm here.
ايوه.
أنا اسمي شهد عويس، عمري 11 سنة، ساكنة في مخيم عايدة، بلدي الأصلي علار. أكثر إشي بحبه في المخيم إني أنا بكون هيك يعني متمسكة لساتني بأرضي، وإني مثلا يعني لساتني بدافع عنها بطريقتي أنا، لأني مقدرش أقاوم بطريقة ثانية. وكمان بحب كثير إنه إحنا كلنا كعيلة واحدة في المخيم. وأنا كمان متطوعة في مركز لاجئ. بحب أروح على الحديقة تقريبا كل يوم عشان أنا بشوف صحباتي وبلعب هناك وبنبسط، لأنه هذاك المكان الوحيد اللي إحنا بنلعب فيه بكل المخيم. وأنا مشتركة في وحدة الموسيقى في المركز، وبعزف على آلة القانون. بحب كثير أعزف على هاي الآلة لأنه صوتها بيشعرني إني بكون مبسوطة دائما لما أعزف عليه. كثير أحيان دايما بكون جاي على المركز بكون في طخ، دايما تقريبا بشكل يومي. وبس لما أنا أجي أمي بتكون كثير خايفة علي لأنه بكون في مواجهات أول إشي. تاني إشي لما أنا أجي كثير في حصص بتروح عني بسبب هاي الأشياء، لأنه أول شي بكون في صوت كثير مزعج. تاني إشي أنا مش دايما بقدر أدخل على المركز لأنه بكون الجيش يعني داخلين في المخيم. وإنه أنا كمان يعني بشوفش كثير، يعني ما باجي كثير على المركز عشان هاي السبب. وبكونوا الأولاد دايما تحت يعني بالشارع، والجيش بيكونوا محاصرهم بضربوا غاز كثير كمان على المخيم. كان وقتيتها انه ضربوا الغاز، والغاز عبى كثير المركز، واحنا كلنا انحشرنا في غرفة واحدة وقتيتها. وكمان في المركز حاولوا انهم كثير يساعدونا عشان نطلع، بس ما كناش قادرين نطلع عشان الغاز. وكانوا بدهم يدخلوا وياخذوا الاولاد اللي كانوا في المركز، بس الطاقم اللي في المركز منعوهم. وكانوا يعني إنهم حتى كانوا إنهم عهاي إنهم يضربوا أو يطخوا لما كانوا طالعين. أنا كنت خايفة كثير عشان الأولاد وعشان أنا كمان. أنا حاب أخدكم هالحين في المخيم جولة عشان أورجيكم إحنا كيف حياتنا اليومية، وأورجيكم كمان بعض المواقع اللي كثير تتضرر من الاحتلال، وإنه كثير ضخ فيها أولاد وكبار وصغار ومن هيك. من المشاكل اللي بنعاني منها في المخيم مشكلة المي، وخاصة بالصيف بتقطع المي أسبوعين أو 3 أسابيع لحد ما يعطونا مي. عشان هيك على كل بيوت المخيم في عندهم خزانات للمي. هاي صور بعض الأسرى المحكومين مدى الحياة. تقريبا في الانتفاضة الثانية أكثر من 500 شخص اعتقل، غالبيتهم تتراوح أعمارهم بين 14 و 15 سنة. هاي المدرسة معظم الأجيال القديمة والجديدة درسوا فيها، وهي تابعة لوكالة الغوث. أكثر من مرة انطق عليها من الجيش غاز ورصاص، وكان في إصابات من طلاب المدرسة. الفترة الأخيرة انطخ كثير غاز على بيوت المخيم من دون سبب، لدرجة إنه في كثير ناس سكرت الشبابيك بالخشب، لأنه الجيش بطخ الغاز بشكل مباشر على البيوت. في 2014 استشهدت نهى قطامش من الغاز، و2015 ضربوا الغاز علينا وإحنا بنلعب بالحديقة من دون أي سبب، وهاي الحديقة المكان الوحيد اللي بنقدر نلعب فيه بالمخيم. مش بس بيستخدموا الغاز، كمان استخدموا مية المجاري اللي كلها مواد كيماوية، برشوها على البيوت وبتضل ريحتها لفترة طويلة. ألفين وخمسطاش طخوا صديقنا عبد الرحمن، كان واقف هون بالضبط، طخوا الناس من دون سبب من هداك البرج.
ربنا اختار التساهل وربنا كرم.
خليها مع صدرها.
خلي القطة كلنا.
يا حبيبي يما يا حبيبي يلا ينتكب مني يلا ينتكب مني ربي يا حبيبي.
واحنا رجالك ابو عمار، واسال عنا
اغمنون لشامة فوق لشامة 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 لغ مشى لغ لشامة لغ لشامة
حتى المكان اللي باجي ألعب فيه بحسه مش آمن لأنه الجيش دائما متواجد فيه، ونفسي أكون زي باقي أطفال العالم أشعر بالحماية والأمان بس ليوم واحد. وحابة إنه نفسي تتحرر فلسطين وأرجع على قريتي الأصلية، أبطل أسكن في المخيم.
Pretty powerful stuff. And that was the video that the Lejeune Center shared with us, and it's on YouTube. But it's really, I think it really shows what we saw. That there's, I don't know, there's sort of like, oh, let's go to Woodstown. Oh, the army's there. We can't go today. You know, then why are they there? Well, good question. So this is Hebron. Again, the place we spent quite a bit of time here. This is the Tomb of the Patriarchs. This is all of Palestinian area. This is Israeli area. And again, separation wall around it. But it's a really beautiful little town. You know, there's a market in Old City. We would go there every day and buy whatever we needed to make dinner. Shopping with the various places, we bought water here every day, and it's bustling little area, pretty safe. We also I mentioned that we traveled with one of the guy who worked for the United Nations. He took us out to a couple of schools that they had built. Along with the Palestinian villagers, they had built schools for their kids, so they didn't have to travel quite as far to get there. I mean, they're not much. You can see they're not much. But a lot of these are donated by organizations in Europe, governments in Europe. Some of the, I think Norway's been giving them solar panels because they're not connected to the grid at all. There's no electric out here, so they gave them some solar panels to help with that. So we visited these 3 schools. One of them was a girls' school that explained that the boys and girls used to go to school together, but when the girls turned 12 and started looking like girls, their parents pulled them out of school, and that was the end of their education. So they built a girls' school specifically for girls. It goes up through grade 12. Someone donated a science center to them. I mean, it's a little bit bigger than this, but it's out in the hills of South Hebron, and but it picks up a lot of kids from a lot of the different areas around that now get to go there. So the night before the first day of school, Israel knocked down 3 of them. 2 of them you just saw. They were knocked down, and again, donated by international bodies and NGOs, were destroyed on grounds that they were built without permission. Now here we start talking about Area C again, that state-owned land. there's a lot of Palestinians there, but Israel does not grant building permits for anything. You know, I saw some statistics that said basically, you know, in 1 year they issued 5 building permits out of, you know, hundreds that were applied for. They granted 5, so they knocked it down because they can. That was a real kick in the teeth because we were in Hebron at that time, and when we found out that what had happened, I mean the guy from the UN was just beside himself. He just, but he's indefatigable. Okay, we're going to start again. So I mentioned that we did mosque patrol and school patrol. School patrol, what we did is we observed and counted the number of kids going through checkpoints, boys and girls, number of teachers going through checkpoints. And all this is reported up through the UN. So you can see there's a turnstile here. It's got a green light on it, which means you can go through. Sometimes, in fact often, one checkpoint I watched, they'd let 2 or 3 kids go through, then they locked the turnstile. So there'd be like 10 kids waiting to get in. And so we'd go up and say, excuse me, there's a lot of kids waiting here to go through. So they'd open it up and let 4 or 5 more through, and then they'd lock it again and take them into the checkpoint. On the first day of school, every kid comes with a backpack. On the first day of school, every kid's backpack was searched. So they were 3 and 4 hours late getting to school because it was just, everybody was searched. If you're 14, 15 years old, what we observed was those kids that come in, they're going to school, take their belts off because they know they're going to be strip searched in the checkpoint. So it's just what happens. This picture on this side is in a Palestinian home that was taken over by settlers. They're actually living, the settlers are living on the first 2 floors. There's a Palestinian family on the 3rd floor. The court ruled that the people that took it over had to leave. Not only did they leave, they're guarded by settler guards that basically prevent people from getting anywhere near it. Very strange. This was this is a flying checkpoint, and I'm just going to read you a blog entry that was done by our Quaker college kid from Canada. She said, while 3 of us were wandering around on a lunch break, we found our path back to the CPT, the Christian Peacemaker Team office, blocked by a row of Israeli soldiers. Walking back the other way, the path had been blocked off that way as well by the time we got there, and another blockade further in the distance. Between the 2 blockades was a no-go zone that was completely empty. Apparently, the soldiers blocked the street in order to find 3 boys who had supposedly thrown rocks. Arresting 2 of them already, they were blocking the street in search of the 3rd. And really, as she said, ineffectively so, they were more likely trying to send a message. Trapped between the 2 soldier blockades, we watched what happened between Israeli soldiers and Palestinians trapped with us inside the blockade. They called us. We were supposed to be going to dinner with a Palestinian family, and they called us and said, we're stuck. We can't get back. So Amy and a couple of the Christian Peacemaker Team folks went out, figured out where they were, and went into the old souk, the old city, found a tunnel that they could walk through and grab them and pull them back. So that was, they were pretty shook up, as you can imagine. We also visited El Araqib, which is a Bedouin village in the Negev desert. This guy is not Sam Elliott. He is the sheik. Really well-spoken, really powerful speaker. And we had a translator with us who, this guy would go on, and the translator would give us a sentence or 2 about what he said. He'd just sort of summarize it. And one of our people from the girl from Texas spoke Arabic, so I leaned over and said, "What's he saying?" She says, "I don't know. He's speaking Arabic, or he's speaking Hebrew, because our interpreter is Jewish." So he's speaking Hebrew. He's with a very thick Arab accent, but he's speaking Hebrew. Quite a guy. And this is the 108th demolition of Al-Araqib.
הופתענו היום בבוקר בסביבות 8:15 עם הכוחות של יחידת יואב ועם הזרוע של הפקח סיירת ירוקה ונכנסו עלינו ללא התראה מוקדמת. לא מספיק שאנחנו חיים ללא מים, ללא חשמל, ללא חיים כמו בן אדם, גם להחרים את הנכס שלנו? באיזה זכות? 2016 ו-2017 שנה חדשה רעה מאוד במדינה טוענת שהיא מדינת חוק, מדינת שוויון, ולצערי הרב נהפך במדינת ישראל כי אין חוק לשמור זכויות הערבי על אדמתו. על השטח הזה, שהם טוענים שהוא שטח מדינה, מתנהל דיון מעשרות שנים עד היום, לא יסתיים הדיון ואין החלטה בבית המשפט שהוא שטח מדינה. כל הזמן שאנחנו לא יסתיים בעניין הבעלות על הקרקע בבית המשפט, אנחנו לא נפסיק להחזיק בקרקע, לא נפסיק לישון על הקרקע, לא נפסיק נסתובב בשטח שלנו עם כל הרכבים שלנו, עם כל הילדים שלנו, עם כל הכוח שלנו. לא נפסיק לעולם, כי אנחנו, זה הקרקע שלנו, לא קרקע של מדינה. ואנחנו לא בולשים, על המדינה בלשה עלינו ועל אדמתנו, אדמת אבתנו וסבתנו. איפה יש שוויון? איפה הצדק? מצד שני נתניהו נתין יד. אנחנו מחפשים שלום. איזה שלום מחפש? אז קודם כל שיעשה שלום, שוויון במדינה לכל שר הוגן שיסתכל טוב על מעשים כאלה שלא עובדים לטובת האוכלוסייה היהודית וערבית בארץ, רק עושים קלקול יחסים במדינה מחפשת לחיות ביחד בכבוד אחד על יד השני. במצב כזה, בלי מאבק משותף יהודי ערבי, לא נוכל לעשות שום דבר. אני קורא לעם היהודי, אם אנחנו כשני עמים מחפשים לחיות ביחד בארץ פה, חייבים לפנות לממשלה ולעמוד מכשול גדול נגד כל המעשים האלה. אין פה יהודי ואין פה ערבי, כולנו אזרחים של המדינה, ואם אנחנו צריכים לשמור על החיים שלנו המשותף, צריכים לעמוד כיד אחד פה נגד האפליה. זה מה שיש לי להגיד, ואני מסתפק במה שאמרתי.
This is a house. This is a home. That's all they've got, because they've knocked everything else down. And this front end loader is about ready to knock that one down. But you can see they're just picking things up and getting rid of them. They took their water buffalo. They have no water, so they use they go fill up a water buffalo and bring it back. Well, they took that. They took the bus they use to take the kids to school. And on Christmas Day, which is significant for us, but not necessarily for anybody else in there, this guy was sentenced to 10 months in prison for building illegal structures in his village. So he's been struggling for years to get their rights to their lands. They've repeatedly rebuilt structures. They've been there since Ottoman times. So they were there back in the early 1900s. And they have deeds from the Ottomans that show that that's their land. Israel does not recognize any of that. As far as they're concerned, they don't belong there. And so he's in jail now for 10 months. That's a shame. He's quite an interesting gentleman. He was, by the way, they're up to 119 times they've demolished that village. This is another village called Susia. You can see they don't have much. We're sitting underneath a tent on a cement slab, but we've all got hot tea. Arab hospitality, when you show up, you're going to get hospitality. You're going to have tea. You may have Turkish coffee. You may have water. And as Amy pointed out, very first thing, when you're offered something, take it and thank him for it. You don't necessarily have to drink it, but you probably should, because it's just a matter of hospitality. So, this is it. This is what they got. We stayed at Quaker, which is a Palestinian village. And if anybody saw the art display that was up here in November, December, on one of the walls up here is a picture of a sunrise with a Palestinian flag in front of it. That was taken and at Quaker. We spent the night there sleeping under a tent, and it was wonderful. But they're going through their own issues of demolitions and that sort of thing. So but they raise they herd goats, and they probably have 150 goats. It's pretty amazing. So, what did we learn? We learned that the military occupation of the West Bank is brutal. There's no way getting around it. Israel's policy seems to be to make life extraordinarily difficult for Palestinians, so they'll leave. That's all they're interested in. If, for example, the separation wall became the border of a Palestinian state, there are some settlements that are still outside of that. They would have to be abandoned, and I don't know that that's going to happen. Most of the settlements are inside the wall. As you can see, the wall snakes all around in order to capture all the settlements that they could. And all in all, Palestinians make the best of a very bad situation. There's not animosity. There's appreciation for international delegations that come and hear their story and play with the kids and just be a presence. Quaker has a international delegation staying with them every night because they think that will prevent the demolition of some of it. They've had since we were there, they've had 2 or 3 homes demolished. They sit next to a settlement now. Settlers throw rocks at them and bitch and moan that these people are terrorists and shouldn't live here. They've been living there since, as I say, Ottoman times. So they're making the best of a bad situation, but it is a bad situation. So on December the 6th, we recognized Jerusalem as an Israeli capital. We said the final borders are up to Israel and Palestinians, but what happened? Well, pretty predictably, people were exercised about it. So the response, this is probably a 10 or 11-year-old kid being hauled off for whatever reason, and not gently. This is the Damascus Gate. Remember the nice bucolic scene of wandering out of Damascus Gate? Well, not so much. And again, that's what it looked like when we were there. That's what it's looking like now. So, how many soldiers did it take to arrest a 16-year-old boy? This was a picture. Was on the front page of a local or Haaretz, which is a kind of a liberal Jewish newspaper, and this kid's being hauled off, blindfolded, with 23 soldiers. The answer to the question is how many does it take? It takes 23. So it turns out that what they did is they beat him with the butts of their rifles and broke 3 of his ribs and broke his shoulder. So they wanted to get him to the hospital, and they said, no, we're just we'll release him on bail and you take care of him. So the family paid 10,000 Israeli shekels, which is about $3,000, to bail the kid out. And he still is going to be, he still has to be tried for whatever he was doing, probably throwing stones. Why do kids throw stones at soldiers? It's the only thing that they can do. They can't resist in any other way. It's the only thing they can do is just throw a stone at a truck or throw a stone at a soldier and whatever. Well, they get arrested for that. You saw the picture of the guy that was taking pictures of all the kids throwing stones. They just go out in the middle of the night, raid the house, pull the kid out of bed, take him away. And if they can't find the kid, sometimes they'll take his younger brother and say, give him up or else we're going to torture you. And the feeling and the experience of the Palestinian kids is they're not kidding. So it's a tough situation. So questions?